Hey everybody, it's Dustin from Handsome Phantom, and we are live here in Anaheim, California, for our day one review of PlayStation Experience. It is Handsome Phantom After Dark. As you can see, we're rocking the gym shorts. We're rocking the nice matching shirt. It looks extra funny now that I look at us all in a row here. It's quite nice. So joining me here, my panel of experts: Ben Smith.
Hello, sir.
Brandon Duncan, Most Glorious Ginger.
What's up, guys?
And Phil Nyman.
It's the second time in a row I've said "What's up, guys?"
It's also the second time in a row you started to interrupt me when I was trying to say hello.
Well, I'm really bad at interrupting people. I just talk when I think.
That's fine. It's been a long day.
3 days?
So a lot of the pleasantries between all of us are just gone.
Yeah,
That's
screw you.
You know,
We're
That's
down
fine.
and dirty, boys.
this is down and dirty.
It's gym shorts time. We got gym shorts and beer, man.
There's a whole lot of stank going on in this
So-
room.
When we were setting up, I saw Brandon. I saw Brandon crack open a beer, and I continued to set up, and I heard vigorous gulping.
It was not this beer. That's his second beer.
And then when I looked over again, there was maybe 2 gulps left.
1 gulp. He finished it.
It
in
was
one gulp.
an impressive feat.
Well-
Do you feel anything, Brandon? You buzzed?
No,
Oh, well,
make them last.
that's right.
Don't even know what that means. All right. So we went to PSX.
Yeah, we went to PSX today. It was fantastic. As far as overall the show, let's talk about the overall. And Brandon specifically, the layout. There's a little more space this year.
There was, yeah. Instead of the keynote, so to speak, and the Capcom Cup being inside in the arena, they opened that up, and then the rest of it was in the actual arena, like
Yeah.
it's a separate space. So that was pretty cool.
It's nice. It reminded me more of the first year that you and I went, the second year of PSX, just a lot more open space around. Much more, the lines are not horrendously long, which is nice. It's nice to see that they improved a lot from last year.
You know, it's just nice that, like, literally the booths are spread out more. It's less stressful when there's more room in between walking and stuff like that. Because from what I understand, other conventions like that, things are pretty crammed in.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody who complains about lines at PSX just needs to be ejected from the show.
Yeah, that's what I was telling somebody, that there's like PSX spoils us just from PAX is already thousands and thousands of more people, and then I've told you guys about E3, especially this year with the consumer. It's just insane amount of people. It was not, it did not accommodate. It, like PSX was more accommodating for huge amount of people than E3 was. Only there was literally tens of thousands more people. So yeah, let's just say overall, everybody, we were super busy, but our first day working the show, did everyone have a good time?
Yeah, it was intense. It was good. We still had, a little bit of that downtime, but I don't know, we had 10 or 12 appointments or something like that. But it was nice. It was just kind of, even though we were very busy, we got to enjoy each other, enjoy the games we played, talk to some cool people.
Hands down the best one I've ever been to.
That's right. Yeah, it was cool. We definitely, with our first show, and I think we've been saying this throughout the day, that we probably overbooked for the 4 of us. But I don't think in any way that's. I think the quality is still there.
Yeah.
It's just was a little stressful for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, what we did was very doable, right? We did it, obviously. But there could have been a little bit more leisure time, a little bit less stressful. But it's rewarding.
Oh, yeah.
It is work, but
I was falling asleep. I was so bored.
love doing it.
Yeah. It was cool, too. A lot of the interviews you're going to see coming up throughout the night, and then they'll be all available when you wake up, handsomephantom.com and our YouTube channel. We interviewed, I don't know how many interviews. Do we have an estimate?
I think today we had 11.
11 different interviews with developers, and it's just so cool to talk to these people that they put their heart and soul into this game. Sometimes just one guy, right?
Yeah.
putting in the work. Specifically, I want to mention Jason from Household Games. We had a really long conversation with him, and I walked away and I was like, dude, this guy, like, this dude was born to make games.
Yeah.
And he is, living his dream, making games. And
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, no, and Dustin and I have talked a lot about this before, how cool it is to go and talk to the devs in the indies. And this year, and more than any other year, because we've been doing these interviews in a more formal way, I feel like we have captured something fantastic, and we can actually share that, getting to know a little bit more about these games firsthand. So,
Yeah, for sure. So, Phil, we briefly joked about this was your the best show yet for
Yes.
you.
Yeah, it
But
was
as
the
your
best one.
first show,
Yes.
we talked a lot about how awesome it would be, and did it meet your expectations? Was it below? Did it exceed? Like how are you feeling right now?
I think it exceeded expectations for me. It was exactly what I expected it to be, but the booths, I didn't expect them to be as grand as they were.
Yeah.
So that was one area. I expected the games to be exactly how they were, but that took it to a different level.
I really feel like Sony took the booths to the next level this year,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that their big first party stuff, a lot of it isn't playable,
Right.
so they made the booth an experience.
Every game that wasn't playable had a great booth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
You're right.
they invested the money
Yeah,
into a
they
nice
did.
booth, and since they didn't have to have all the stations set up and stuff like that. So,
Right.
Everybody's favorite booth. Go.
ooh,
Days Gone. I think Days Gone
Days
was
Gone.
incredible. Yeah.
Give it a brief overview of it.
Brief overview. It's almost like a mini haunted house. You kind of walk in, and there's zombies, behind a fence trying to grab you. There's bodies hanging. There's a bear that's attacking you. You can get a picture op with the motorcycle and the bear chasing you. But it's kind of zombified too, and its flesh is kind of bare. Yeah,
Dude,
it was
and
just a
the
cool little walkthrough.
The zombies were really
actual. Yeah,
they had actors that were
yeah, and like
at least
unlike
I hope
haunted
they
houses,
might have been zombies.
Right.
They were
It's
very
possible, yeah.
convincing.
And when you go through like a haunted house, they can't touch you. These zombies would grab you and like hold you to the fence, and
Yeah.
great opportunity to get some cool pictures, and it was fun.
The thing about the zombies, I think that was like whatever the paint, whatever it's
Right.
fake. It looks cool though and real, but like these actors were like making noises
Yeah.
that were oddly
Right.
very zombie like from
Yes.
what we see.
And-
From all the real zombies we've
All the
seen.
real, the real
very
life
authentic.
zombies, yeah.
And then sometimes you'd be in a different part of the arena or whatever, and then they'd be running through the halls.
Yeah,
Just zombies running loose.
What do they call them in that game?
freakers.
Freakers.
Yeah, so yeah, they're not
Not to
zombie,
be
they're
confused with
freakers.
clickers.
Yes,
true.
Yeah.
For me, even though I didn't get to go into this booth, and I'm really hoping I get to tomorrow, but the Impatient booth, the fact
Yeah, that
that
did look cool.
when you go to play the demo, you sit down in a wheelchair, and
Yeah.
they'll wheel you into like a
An asylum.
examination room, and have you played the Impatient? So,
Yeah.
I have not seen any gameplay of that game. I have no idea what it looks like other than
No,
So-
just what it is. Yeah.
and I think that I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be fantastic. Brandon I was gonna cue Brandon next, but you were ready to gear up. So, Brandon,
I would say my favorite. I didn't even participate in this booth as well, but I saw what I needed to see. The God of War booth.
oh yeah,
There was a cool little Norse thing going on a screen to the side. An amazing copper bronze-esque, weirdly colored statue that was incredibly detailed.
It was probably just styrofoam and they spray painted it.
You're probably right. Kratos and his son. Very,
oh
very
yeah,
nice.
they were walking around.
Yeah, but there was a really nice high-quality statue as
Oh,
well.
the statue. Okay.
And there was a photo opportunity to be on the boat that they were on in the cover.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And there's like fog going and stuff, and you could hold the axe. And it's just really cool. Even though, makes you think, would that have been there if there were gameplay? And maybe not as much, because we've seen stuff like that in the past. But it was just an interesting thing that at least they did something. You know what I mean?
I will say, in their defense, though, too, I joke about it, but the games that were playable did have really good booths, too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, no, and I got a shout out to, even though it's already out, the GT Sport.
Oh, yeah.
The booth was not only very nice with the way it was very largely scaled, even it's different than last year, but big.
Yeah.
But they had a bunch of cars around, so it kind of like extended towards the arena, and it's really awesome to see some of the cool cars in person. So
Oh yeah, the cars are awesome, and I
Yeah.
think there's even more in the hallway going to the arena.
Yeah.
There's more cars there.
Yeah,
too,
yeah, no,
which is just-
exactly. So that's, to me, that's a part of the booth because it just extends. You know,
Yep.
it's still.
I was looking for
Really
Lightning
awesome.
McQueen though. There was no Lightning McQueen.
This
This
sorry,
guy.
sorry to disappoint you.
Cars licensed to win.
Mhm.
Goatee.
Oh yeah.
Ben,
Yeah.
favorite booth.
I think my favorite booth, just I didn't play the demo today, but it would probably be the Detroit booth.
Yes.
And the Detroit, like the actual gameplay and everything was one thing, but like they had another part of the booth which was kind of like if you're shopping for your Android, human person, Android, robot thing.
Mhm.
They had actual actors
Android.
and actresses playing the parts, and some of them were interacting with the people. And I heard some of them like very, rigidly introducing themselves and
Yeah.
guiding you around. And then they had other ones that were just like in the windows, like you could be shopping for them and
It was
everything.
like-
Like,
yeah,
it was a
like
tech
a
demo.
display
And they're like,
space.
just very.
Dead behind the
It's
eyes.
like window shopping for the Androids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I liked how they had like
It takes commitment to just stand there for hours, though.
yeah exactly. I liked how you could
I would
go
do
up,
it for free.
Damn.
Stand there
Hey,
for
Sony.
hours and
Over
do-
there.
and-
Stand over there.
Stand over there for hours and do
Yeah.
nothing.
Um,
Here's the question: can I stand up straight and fall asleep at the same time?
We'll find out.
I would be willing to
You
find
gotta
out.
I liked how when you went up there was like a little like all the information about each Android,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
how like what they're like working for you 24/7.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I saw people. You could go back there and get your picture taken like you were an Android
Yeah.
too.
Dude, did you see a couple people? You said like people going up and introducing. I saw someone like having a full like 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
With
Yep.
an Android. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to talk to them. It's like it's like I don't want to say creepy, but it's weird to me. Like I don't.
Well, no, what I would do is if I were going to interact with one of them, is just do everything I could do to
Mhm.
try to get them to laugh.
Yeah. I'd be like shopping for a horse. I'd be like, "Can I check its teeth?" And
Oh,
try to
Any prior injuries,
right.
recalls.
You know, it'd be a fun video we could do tomorrow. Say like, oh, since your favorite booth. Hi, I'm Ben Smith. Today we're going shopping for an Android here at the Detroit booth.
I like it.
Awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
We got to keep that under our hats though till tomorrow.
We're live.
Don't let the people know. Oh,
Phil.
damn it.
Phil, why'd you say that?
The
Damn
cover
it.
has been blown.
Cover's blown. So let's talk about some of the games that we got to play. Any ones that we don't have to talk about all of them, but the ones that stuck out to us. One that we can start out with, since we all played it, we popped into Bravo Team this morning, the PlayStation VR.
Yeah. Right away. That
What's
was
everyone's thoughts?
Man, it is very reminiscent of Time Crisis, and I don't know if anybody's played Time Crisis. Everybody here had played
Mhm.
Time Crisis?
Yeah.
One of my favorite arcade games ever, and I know it did eventually come to consoles. I never had time for it on consoles because arcade's better. But
Mhm.
it reminds me very much of that, where you basically, progress, you move to cover, and then you're first-person shooting bad guys.
Yeah. The with this one though, you can progress too
It's
far.
VR, by the way.
Unlike Time Crisis, I progressed too far at one point. I thought I saw you run by, but it was just one of the terrorists or whatever that ran back too far, and he was running back. So I followed him, and then I was behind enemy lines, and they shot me, and I just had to lay there and wait for
Yeah.
someone to come get me.
One of the
Yeah.
things I really liked about it is that we got to play it in pairs.
Right.
So
Yes.
you got to play with somebody else.
Yeah.
And I remember playing it, and I was shooting some terrorists, and Brandon was like jumped ahead one. I was like, oh, he's kind of going a little far. Then he jumped like a bunch ahead of me to the point that he had gone past some terrorists. I was like, no, Brandon, you're gonna get shot in the
Yeah,
back.
no, that's great. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Something that I noticed from that specifically, that from playing like Doom VFR and stuff like that, I really enjoyed that instead of just like a straight teleport to cover, I thought that it was great that it was a little bit more cinematic, that it pulled you back when you were moving
Right.
from cover.
Into third person.
And it saw your guy. The camera stays still, but it saw your guy walk to the cover,
Yeah.
which was great. And I feel like, as opposed to maybe teleporting to a location, it's a lot less. It's a lot easier on you to watch that, I think, than to. And I don't really think it took me out of the experience that much. I
No.
was just like,
No.
oh, I'm moving to cover, and now I have a gun. You know,
And no
it's-
nausea, no queasiness at all.
no,
Yeah.
I feel like that was a really nice way that they could have done that I really appreciated specifically, was moving from cover to cover, as opposed to some of the other shooters that I played like that.
Yeah, it's interesting how Bravo Team is sort of a lot like Farpoint, but it's more with a 2-player co-op. It's a lot more tactical, but it's sort of similar as far as just like going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's what all the game is like.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's like all just.
Well, I mean, I don't know as far as the way you move. I think
yeah,
that
as
is
far
the
as you
way.
move,
Yeah. Along those same lines, we then played was it Firewall.
Firewall. Yeah, Firewall announced at the PlayStation Presents
Yes.
yesterday.
It was pretty crazy too. It was very similar, but it wasn't like the teleport movement.
Yeah. So I thought Bravo Team was great,
Mhm.
and I think it's a fantastic game, but I think Firewall blew it out.
Yeah.
It was way, way cooler. So let's talk a little bit about Firewall then. Unfortunately, Phil wasn't there. when
I
we
was
played
not.
it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I went to the IGN panel.
Dang it.
Yep.
So, Brandon, tell me a little bit about what's different about Firewall? They're very similar. They look similar,
so,
but
Firewall is kind of like an objective-based 4v4 type
Yeah.
of map situation. And there's traditional move controls. So you're in VR and you could use your gun, but you're moving like normal. You know, triangle's going to switch your weapons just like any other first-person shooter. You know, squares, reload, stuff like that. So it's definitely different and certainly more jarring. But essentially the goal is you're kind of like 4v4. We were playing against actual other people when we did this.
yeah.
And we had to go into this house. You could be sneaky. You can go into different kind of ways. And we had to find a device and essentially like wait there and defend it, right? So it was really communication based. We were talking to each other over the mic and
VR,
like,
by the way.
splitting up.
Oh, yeah, VR.
in,
Very important.
in VR with the gun control. And it was really communication based.
Was that move controls only on that? Or did
Aim.
They had the
Aim.
aim controls.
Aim
controls,
controls.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which was really cool because, like, I actually found myself, squinting one eye, closing one eye to
I
look
did
down
that.
the.
I did that like
look
the
down the
entire
sights.
time.
Yeah.
what so I am not a Rainbow Six Siege player, but to my understanding, it is basically Rainbow Six Siege
Yeah.
in VR. Very similar. I mean, you're not like scaling buildings quite like you are in Rainbow Six Siege, but it is that extremely tactical. Like, what was nice is that it was the three of us, and we had one guy, one of the devs, playing with us, and so he was helping us, and so we were like, oh yeah, watch your six, like,
Right.
we have people watching from behind. You're like trying to peek around corners, and
And they stressed that communication was honestly just as important as it would be in real life. Like,
yeah,
obviously you're not going to actually get killed, but it was important to make the game fun. And I found that to be true. Like, I was going to run into a room and somebody would shout, there's a guy in there.
there's a guy in
and
there.
I
Yeah, check the
didn't-
windows.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't just run in full speed.
Yeah. What it reminded me of, the feeling it gave me playing this game was like playing paintball in real life.
Oh yeah.
And not in a way that's like, oh, I'm playing a paintball video game. It's just like real life. It was like, no, I got the same like adrenaline rush, and there was a point where we played two different rounds. One of the times the thing we had to hack was in the attic, or not the attic, but like second floor. And the second round, it was in a courtyard in the center
That was
of the
cool.
house.
Yeah.
The courtyard was fucking awesome because we were totally out in the open. And so the enemy was going up on the balcony and like pointing down and picking us off. So we'd have to it was like we were laying down suppressive fire. Even though they weren't pointing over, we didn't want them to even peek their head over to get a chance to shoot at us.
Right.
So, yeah, it was so cool.
Apparently, you could also duck. You could duck with the controllers, but you could apparently duck by actually ducking. I didn't do that because at one point I wasn't sure where I was standing, and usually if I play VR at home, I at least have something where I know I can adjust my foot to find out where I'm standing.
Yeah.
But with this, I was like, I don't really know where I am, so I don't want to duck down. But it was cool.
I would say that typically you wouldn't sit for that kind of experience,
Right.
even like Farpoint or anything. But with the way it was, I mean, simply moving the upper half of your body, you could easily sit down for that. I think. I don't
Mhm.
know.
I thought it was cool too how was there any HUD on the game? I think your like map was like on your gun.
I
You know,
don't
like your
recall.
radar?
Yeah, I don't. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember.
Something else that was cool was there was multiple different classes you
Yeah.
could play as well. So there was the assault rifle, which is normal assault rifle, shotgun, and a
SMG.
SMG, which was silenced.
Yeah.
So that had a neat advantage. That reminded me of another situation when we started round 2.
Uh-huh.
The guy take us through the demo. I was like, okay, let's try something different. Let's go around the side.
Yeah.
And maybe surprise him. And we went on the side, and the entire team was ready for us there. Like they knew what we were gonna do, which part of me wonders.
Yeah.
The entire team was all the devs.
Right.
They had to have
Oh, that's shady.
orchestrated some. I'm fine with it though, because
It was
cool.
fun. It made for a cool
It-
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm also like, they're going easy on us.
Right.
And
Oh,
there's,
yeah.
There's that
I
classic.
actually almost said, "All right, how do we get them not to let us win this time?"
Yeah, I almost there's a thing that's like, developers with gaming press. They're like, oh yeah, you're really good at this.
Yeah.
Like, there was one of them that one of the guys was like, oh yeah, great shot there, you got him, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But no, this is really cool. Ben, do you think as a new PlayStation VR owner, this might have you make the plunge to an aim controller?
Yeah. Quite frankly, the only reason I don't have an aim controller is because I'm such a new VR owner, and there aren't any titles that I'm emphatic about having it for.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm pumped because I bought that aim controller right when Farpoint came out, and I think Farpoint wasn't super great.
It was
That
okay.
didn't fulfill
I mean,
the purchase for
yeah,
me
yeah.
by any means. And there was like a couple other games I didn't even buy because they didn't look great.
The one looks awesome where you're like a Bayou Billy hunting alligators
yeah,
and
I
stuff.
can't remember what that's called.
I can't
but,
remember. It looks
uh,
look crazy though.
Yeah, so now that we're getting more games, I mean, even just recently, Doom VFR
Yeah.
used the aim to somewhat success. Now we're getting Bravo Team,
Yep.
and we're getting
Firewall.
Well, and these are the kind of games that I grew up on in the arcade
Mhm.
playing. Obviously it's much more immersive than that. And these are the kind of games that my dad loves shooters, especially arcade shooters. If I can't imagine my dad playing Rush of Blood.
Mm-hmm.
He probably would, but it's still hard to imagine that it's not quite up his alley. But my dad would probably sit down and play Bravo Team or Firewall with me, or he'd check it out.
Yeah, dude, it's VR is so exciting to me right now. Now that we're a year into the platform with PlayStation VR, and 2 million sold.
Special VR podcast announcement coming soon.
That's right. Very soon.
Yeah.
So, very cool. Let's go ahead and move on. Yeah, let's. I don't know what specifics. If you guys have any ones you want to talk about that you thought were cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Spitball it.
I really liked Shape of the World.
Okay.
And looking through the list of indie games, that was one of the ones that was highest, if not the highest on my list, just because I haven't played anything like it. It kind of had that exploration that I expected from No Man's Sky and did not get.
Okay.
A reason to keep exploring. I even at one point put the controller down, and he's like, "What do you want to see some of the other areas?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. I do want to see those other areas." So, and he put me back in and skipped ahead to some of the further along stuff, but it's cool. It's the world kind of is created as you go through it. So based on where you step, things might happen. What you interact with. There's really two things you do. You interact with either objects, trees, things like that, or you throw seeds.
Okay.
And the seeds don't do much other than just give you something to toss.
Spewing that seed.
Yeah, spewing the seed. Just
Great.
everywhere. But then there'll be like monuments around if you lack of a better term, touch all of them, like he said.
Yeah.
Then something, usually like a set of stairs will appear, and it kind of lets you go up, to a special something or other, a secret area. Sometimes you can fly once you get there and just kind of float around the world.
Here's my question.
Yes.
With procedurally generated games,
Mhm.
right? There are some that feel, if the procedure, the code behind the generation is good, it might not even feel like it's
Right.
being procedurally generated.
Yeah.
What's your take? Did it feel like in some points it's like, oh, this looked like this practically could have been made by a person and not just like spit out by a computer.
I don't know if I ever felt that way. Like there were times where I was starting to think maybe, but then he would come over and kind of talk to me about what was happening.
Yeah.
So like there was one time where like trees just started popping up everywhere, and I'm like, oh, they just put a bunch of trees here. But he was saying that like there's a whale that's floating ahead, and it's dropping seeds and growing trees, and it just randomly drops them around. But it gets so thick that you have to keep backing up and going around, and so where I thought it might have head towards more of a man-made, no, it's a whale just floating around, just dropping these trees all over the place. It doesn't make a sense. Like whenever you think about it, it makes no sense at all.
He said that there's no narrative.
No narrative
but
at all.
you know the narrative.
Yep.
Is how he said it.
Right. That's what he said. He doesn't use any words, but he's telling a story. And it's more something you feel. There are waypoints that you get to, and you can go to them at any point, and it proceeds you on to the next area. But you don't have to go to them. He even told me at one point, he's like, this is an area that I don't really go to. Like, he didn't really know what was going to happen there in that area because he just doesn't.
It's kind of crazy,
often.
actually.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he described you said the sound was very...
It was, yeah. The sound played into. I mean, he even in the interviews he used the word sensual, and I think that the visuals and the sound together just gave you, we talked about it before, an ASMR kind of tingly. Like there were feels that you got from that music, and the visuals together.
You're making me want to go check this out.
It was good, and
Wow,
I know I like a lot of weird stuff that people don't like, but this was really something I'm gonna dig
Very
into.
cool.
And yeah,
Whales spewing their seed.
yeah,
Handsome Phantom exclusive.
yeah.
Brandon, is there anything in particular jumping out to you?
I was trying to think. We played a lot today. I really like Children of Morta.
Oh,
I thought was
dude.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing pixel art style. It kind of reminded me a lot of Diablo, just because it's kind of some procedurally generated dungeon clearing almost. When we talked to the dev, when we got to interview him, I think it actually might not have been dev. I think it might have been the publisher.
Publisher, yeah.
In this case, anyway. He was talking about how there's some cool elements with the way that the classes interact with each other, because instead of it being just like a class.
Yeah, there was something on the card that talked about like social interactions, like there's like some kind of social tree or something like that?
Yeah. So like instead of it just being a class, you're playing as an actual person who's a part of a family.
Okay.
So the way that these characters interact, I guess there's like a narrative, and it makes you care about the characters and stuff like that. So not only does it look cool, but there's like a deeper layer to it. So
Now, was this like each, depending on which character you play as, you're gonna get different aspects of the story and stuff like that? Was that what you were picking up, or
that's what it was sounding like? Because like you're gonna play as the dad, or you're gonna play as the daughter,
okay,
and or the mother, whatever.
I like to see a unique take on like families in games like that.
It's definitely really cool. There were two options that we had captured some gameplay for, the warrior and the archer. He said that there was a mage, but I'm super interested in this because not only did it play really well, I'm interested to see what other classes there are, because this would lead way to like you have a slasher, you have an archer, he's talking about a mage, maybe a healer. It kind of gets like into the class system, so it'd be interesting, and it has all kinds of multiplayer throughout the whole thing. So
one last thing, and just something I remember hearing him say is that it's to be surprised about how deep it is and the amount of not only content but the gameplay and the different systems for being an indie game, really deep.
Yeah, no, that's why it was one of my favorites. So really cool experience with the publisher, and I genuinely enjoyed playing the game, so I'm interested in seeing more.
Very cool. Benny boy,
Yeah.
hit me up. What are some things that stuck out to you today?
Strange Brigade.
Oh yeah, I remember watching you play that.
Yeah, it was it's an interesting game. It's like a 4-person cooperative shoot 'em up, basically. And so you're these 4 characters called the Strange Brigade, and it is almost like I'm trying to even think of the right word. It's almost like you're in an Uncharted world, like the game Uncharted, almost.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of setting it makes you feel like it's an exploration.
It was very reminiscent of Uncharted multiplayer.
Okay.
In a lot of ways,
Yeah.
from what I was observing.
Yeah.
What you
Sold.
And so, yeah. And so, I didn't fully get. There was no real narrative piece during this demo that I played. But I say that to follow up with the narrator. There is a narrator who's got an English accent and everything, who's kind of narrating what you're doing as characters. I don't know if you could hear that because we had headphones on playing.
Oh no, I didn't hear it.
But so sometimes there's a little bit of comedy thrown in there with that. Sometimes it's just oops, you're dead, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that adds to it, not only with the comedy piece, but also like moving the story, I think, is where it's going. And so, like I said, I didn't get to see a whole lot of that narrative, but it's almost like a horde game too, where at times you just have a ton of enemies coming towards you, and really had to fight your way out. So each character has a different set of skills. They have a different set of weapons. They can do power ups and everything like that. Use things in the environment to kill everybody. It's pretty cool.
Something just a funny little moment that I thought was cool. There was a part where a really stereotypical classic mummy was awakening.
Yeah.
Like it had the bandages wrapped around.
Right.
Is that like a boss or something? Or
yeah, it was like a boss, and then there were tons of mummies, but there were some generic army men mummies, and then there were some that were a little harder, and then there was a boss or two. I can't remember how many. There might have been more than that, but there were some other monster type things as well. But kind of set in that Egyptian setting, ancient Egypt setting, where a lot of that mythology and everything comes out too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This game also had there was different classes you could play as, or was it
Yeah.
just different characters.
They're different characters. I guess you could say each one had a different class, but to be honest, without exploring them further, the thing that was really cool, after I played with the first character, I thought, this isn't a game that it's, I like the premise of this game, but this style isn't my thing. And then they said, hey, that round was over, and the other individuals left, and they said, do you want to play another round, play with a different character? I don't know if they just saw that I sucked really bad with that one or what, but so I played with a different character, and it completely changed my experience. And in theory, I mean, I was still just had a power up, had some weapons, but the style of weapon was better suited to my play style. I'm more of a Russian, blow stuff up kind of guy. I'm not terribly strategic most of the time. Not that I'm not strategic, just that I'm not careful. And it totally changed the experience. And I asked, is it going to be something that anybody can play and anybody can find their play style? And they said absolutely. And even within those, you can, each character can select different power ups and different weapons and everything. So it seems like it'll be pretty customizable for each person.
Yeah. Very cool. Definitely one to keep on the horizon. I think they said they didn't even have a release date yet. Looked pretty.
They said 2018, but so does everybody.
It looked pretty feature complete as far as
Uh-huh.
I could. I mean, maybe not feature as far as different modes and stuff. As far as minute to minute gameplay, it looked.
Yeah, I don't
tight.
know if part of the story is what they're still working on or what.
Yeah.
It's 4-player co-op, but he said you could go in with one person and still have a great time.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, for me, I think as far as my developer appointments, I played Flipping Death.
Yeah.
This was at the Nintendo. This was revealed at the Nintendo Direct from the creators of Stick It to the Man, and I thought this was just a really cool game. The art direction super strong.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle platformer. So you are someone who was killed, and death. You end up talking to Death, and you're like, "I'm not. Hey, what's going on? I'm not dead." He's like, "Oh well. You're my replacement. I've been waiting 300,000 hours for you to show up. 300,000 hours of work without a break. Here you go." And hands her the scythe. So you have the powers of Death, and so there's this really neat mechanic where you throw your scythe, and then you can wherever it lands, you can hit the right trigger, and you teleport right to it. So that was a nice little interesting way to navigate around the world. But what's neat is you're able to possess humans that are in the normal world. And so when you possess a human, it flips over to the real world, since you're in the death realm. And so when you're the human, you can potentially have a different ability. And it's really hokey stuff.
Yeah.
Like one of them was I need to lower this paint can, and so I was like this guy that loved to poke things. He's just like, I'm Poke Man. I love to poke things. And so with him, you have like this really long arm that extends to poke things, and so you push this lever and it drops the paint can. And so when you flip back into the Death World, the paint can is now this like paint can monster.
Yeah.
It's been unleashed. So there's all these different characters you can possess, and no, just super cool.
Yeah.
Game.
I really like the art style on that as well.
Yeah, and it's I've always seen Stick It to the Man. Never played it. I actually think I own it. From PlayStation Plus, and I have never played it.
Yeah.
But very cool.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. So.
And he said they're very similar when I was talking to the developer.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh dude,
yeah.
I might need to check out Stick It to the Man then, because I really enjoyed it. I played. Probably will be playing it on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't know if you heard this, but he did say. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I actually like this game best on the Switch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's I was telling Brandon about this the other day. I saw this great YouTube video about how everyone in the industry and on forums is like, "Oh, it's a great game, but it'd be amazing on the Switch." It's like any game ever. People are like, "It'd be awesome on the Switch," just because of that portability. And so that's why I feel playing it. I'm like,
Well, it looks like they're trying to put every game ever on the Switch. So
right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, very cool. Flipping Death. Also, is it all right if I talk about Way of the Pacifist?
Yeah.
Please,
real quick.
Please.
Yeah, Way of the Pacifist. This was cool because this is one that Brandon and I checked out last year, and we were talking to Jason, and he was saying that the demo last year was 3 months in development.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
agreed to be at PlayStation Experience 3 weeks into development, and so he was like, "Yeah, I think we were a little over ambitious."
Yeah.
To be a PlayStation Experience, but he said what came out of that was invaluable, seeing what people's really early reception of the early, like, almost tech demo level of the game. And man, the hard work really shows put in, because last year, and I think Brandon, you and I can both agree with this, is that it was an amazing concept. So I guess I haven't talked about what Way of the Pacifist is. It's a game. It's a brawler, beat 'em up. Think Ninja Turtles or the Simpsons game or Streets of Rage or something like that. But instead of fighting people, you are the pacifist. So people are trying to attack you, and you are dodging and parrying their attacks, and eventually they get worn out and tired, and you just blink, poke them off screen.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's like
A lot of poking in the games you played.
a lot of poking, but it's interesting because it has a rhythm element to it. In fact, in some ways, it almost feels like a rhythm game,
Right.
with how you are like ha ha ha.
He was comparing it to Guitar Hero actually at one point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if he told you this at all, but there's a part where you fight that robot, and it was kicking your ass over and over again. So he's back there telling us about how mean it was, because he put that in there way earlier than expected, and normally it's just like, one and then you move along, but like he added a bunch of stuff, and they know the rhythm to it. So the thing, it does whatever, and then it basically spins around punching you 6 times.
Yes.
And he was counting to 6, and each time we're waiting for you to get to that 6 and then punch. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, punch, and every time you failed to punch.
Yeah.
And like
So
just waiting.
It was
for it to
agonizing
happen.
watching from behind. Yeah.
they had 2 levels. They had the first level,
Right.
which is nice because it introduces you to the most basic enemy, and then they had like level 6 or something,
Right.
something a lot further along in the game, and so it was an overload of enemies I'd never seen before. I don't know what
Which
their
is not in the
rhythms-
final build. Like that's specific to the demo.
Right. Yeah.
He
That,
just put it in there. Yeah.
Oh,
some of those
that robot?
enemies shouldn't have all even
Yeah.
been together.
It doesn't
at the same
actually.
time.
It's not that tough like that. He just
Oh,
made it
man.
like extra mean for the demo.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So it was interesting about that robot. He will always attack 6 times.
Right.
And in order to take him out, you have to use your power move.
Because his stamina never goes down like everything
Yeah.
else.
So what I was doing was I was doing the 6 parries, and then I was hitting again because I was expecting that next attack. But if you hit a parry that's against nothing, you lose your combo and you lose that power move.
Right.
So he had to come over and help me
Yeah.
on that one.
We watched it good, 3-4 times probably.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, it was no, but it was really cool just because even I played there's a demo that was through Humble Bundle, and he's like, that's actually a pretty old build, so I'm hoping you notice some differences.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, huge difference as far as how well the game played. And yeah, I think it's great. And I think the thing I loved about playing Way of the Passive Fist and talking to Jason was when Brandon and I were just like walking around like telling people like, yeah, we have this podcast and we're trying to do more, showed a lot of interest in us, and what has been, DM'd me and been talking to me throughout the year. And so to be here now and actually be able to do like good coverage, and the fact that he's stuck with us is super cool. And just like his passion for this project is really, really strong. I'm like, he's just like, he's living his dream.
Yeah.
And I think, I really hope, and I really think the Way of the Passive Fist is going to be, I hope that he's rewarded for his hard work. I hope that he makes a good payday. Yeah. He deserves it. So him and his crew. He
worked on Guacamelee.
He did. Yeah, it worked for Drinkbox.
Yeah, he was talking about how excited he was for the second one, having no knowledge of what it was going to be like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the secrets. I guess he put the secrets, a lot of them, he said, in the first game. So to explore that and experience it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So real quick, any other stand out for you guys? Anything you want to talk about in particular?
I had a couple other games, but nothing that we'll have other videos and stuff about that for me at least.
Me and Brandon played Mother Gunship together, and that was a good time. It's kind of like this Doom first-person shooter, but also roguelike experience that you go through these levels and just millions and millions of enemies are coming at you. But you can also craft and build up your weapon. You get crafting parts as you go along, and you just continue to build up your gun in a crazy way. I don't know. You did a little more, Probably I just played through the demo, which basically was a pretty straightforward. You die, you respawn, you keep going. But Brandon got to actually play the roguelike aspect of it. When he died, the demo was over, and the room was generated in a way that even the developer didn't know what was going to happen. And he's like, look over here for a door. There might be one, there might not. We don't know. And he actually led Brandon to a crazy area, and then he's like, I should not have brought you here. Like.
Yeah, no, seriously, that was one of the ones that kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it. I thought it looked cool, but once we actually started playing it, it sort of reminded me of Doom. Oh. It sort of reminded me of like the fast-paced jumping around of Quake almost.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It was seriously super cool, and like Phil said, there were just a lot of things coming at you at once. It was very fast-paced, and the coolest thing was the crafting gun system, actually. So you would pick up parts and you could build these crazy like 16-barrel guns if you wanted to, with all these different attachments with ricochet and this and that and the other. And it's honestly kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
Because so it goes into this like outer diagram, and then you could just continue to add things until your gun takes up like half the screen if you want. But as we were talking to the dev, it's like, well, you can do that, but you might only have enough energy to fire that gun with 16 barrels once. So it's kind of like, then you have a strategy where you have this heavy-hitting gun on one arm and a light-hitting gun on the other. So it was just...
And you can't just put parts anywhere. It actually has to have, like, a connector and then actually fit like it would in real world. So you have to, like, maneuver that around.
Weapon economy.
Yeah.
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 That's right.
100%.
Cool.
No, yeah, it was really cool, and seeing screenshots just really didn't do it justice. It was something that after we played was definitely really awesome. So
cool. All right. Well, very cool. I'm glad we got to play a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
A bunch more tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a bunch of videos we're going to be cranking out tonight. Very excited. I have to give a special shout out to my boys in the Super Best Friends video game sleepover podcast.
Yep.
They've been friends with us for a while. I've been on their show. I think it was back when Fallout 4 came out, sometime around then. But I don't know. Those guys are awesome. Been friends with them for a long time. Go check out their podcast. They're awesome dudes. And we went out to dinner, got some pizza, had a beer. No beer for you?
Diet Coke for me.
Diet Coke. No beer.
No.
Why not?
I was real thirsty.
Oh, yeah.
Really
Just trying to
thirsty.
get hydrated on Diet Coke.
I mean, I wasn't. That wasn't the hydrating part of the night. That was just the I am dying of thirst part of the night. And Diet Coke will quench that thirst. It may not hydrate, but it quenches.
Quench
Yeah.
the thirst.
Quench the thirst. Quench the thirst.
All right. Well, I think that wraps this podcast up.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing time at PSX. I'm glad you guys are here. And yeah, let's kill it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
So this has been the PSX Day 1 review with Handsome Phantom. If you want to keep up to date with all the different fun stuff we're doing at PSX, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Just search Handsome Phantom. You'll find it. And I was posting pics throughout the day. Posting more pics. You can follow all of us personally if you'd like. I'm at Dustin Can't Fly.
I'm at DA Great Dennis.
I am at _Glorious Ginger.
And I am at Philip Nyman.
One last thing, and probably the most important thing.
I have another last thing, too, when you're done.
Make sure to visit handsomephantom.com
Right.
because that is where all the content is being posted.
Mhm.
And there is going to be just an absolute shit ton by the time you might be listening to this tomorrow, since it is 3 a.m.
Mhm.
On the East
Eastern,
Coast.
yep,
So,
yep.
yeah, it's a little late,
Yep.
midnight here. But, yeah, handsomephantom.com.
Handsomephantom.com.
Don't want to miss it. Phil, your last thing.
We got one last thing. We have an Easy Allies type bet that me and Dustin
Oh,
have.
shit.
Actually moderated by Kyle Bossman,
That's
which
true.
we have an ongoing bet that The Last of Us Part 2 will not release until either this fall or sometime in 2018 or 2019 in the spring. I've said spring of 2019. Dustin says it's coming out in 2018.
This was a little ballsy of me.
It's a little ballsy. It's the game is supposedly 50 to 60% done, they said today.
Yes.
So there's that. Loser of this said bet has to play a game that they don't necessarily care for. Last Guardian for me. A little bit of Life is Strange for Dustin. And we have to wear a shameful yellow Handsome Phantom shirt while we do it.
Yeah, we're going to have to
And
arrange.
the next time we go out in public with the four of us in the shirts, one has to wear the yellow shirt, whoever loses,
Oh, man.
after the bet is over. So
Might be
if
a while.
if you know, technically, if by PSX next year it's not out, I think it's pretty safe to say the yellow shirt might be worn by Dustin Furman at PSX 2018.
On the back of it, it has to say, Kyle made me do this.
Kyle
Kyle
made me do this.
this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So that's kind of my final thought.
Okay. Very nice. Hopefully I don't lose this. I might. We'll see. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later. Bye.